All right, here we are on Cloud Kingdom. EG JYP is going to be the pink Protoss up here in the top right corner, and down in the bottom left, it's going to be Monster once more playing for MVP. Looks like they're back on the Korean server, as his name has suddenly changed to some undiscernible Korean characters.
Well, you mentioned before that EG has a really, really solid lineup at the moment, and they do. I mean, it's pretty stacked. They've got all races covered. They've got strong players in every category, and it's I think it's an exciting time for Evil Geniuses. I think they have a lot of potential in team leagues. I know that they've GSL Final TVZ and Veteran. I know that you know, they've had trouble in the past at team leagues, but I think now maybe their moment to shine.
Yeah, could be. And the joke there was Monster said Imba Protoss, and JYP's like, no, GSL Finals or TVZ. He's like, okay, Imba Terran. Either way, someone other than Zerg is Imba. Apparently, even though Zerg just keeps crushing face in everything that we do, we get multiple Zerg wins every single match, it seems like. And you know, some of the strongest players out there now. We've got, you know, Nurchio and Vortex actually just taking care of business in Europe. Stefano, obviously, as well. Just Hyun massacring 10 opponents straight. We have Life going on just a rampage. We have Dongre Gu getting into the OSL finals. Like, just Zerg is in its heyday. It's pretty much undeniable. But we've got just some incredible Zerg players rising to the top right now.
Okay, so here we are now, and the map is Cloud Kingdom. This lends itself to pretty interesting PVZs because there's a lot of flexibility. JYP picking this, I wonder what his idea is going to be. Obviously, he's going for a Nexus first, but is he going to follow this up with a quick 2 base 3 Immortal attack? That's pretty good here because of how many paths are actually available to the third. But, you know, you can actually take a third base here as a Protoss player behind some Stargate player or something like that and end up moving into you know, very, very long macro mode.
Yep, and we still actually haven't seen any Stargate play. This is now the third Protoss in the match, so perhaps JYP will switch it up. Looks like JYP, actually, excuse me, the pink is definitely going to throw me off because Stefano was just in the last 3 games, but JYP building Protoss things and Monster building Zerg things. I was going to say that JYP was building a hatchery at his expansion, but that's clearly not the case. And yeah, Monster is going to be throwing up that hatchet as natural, everything to be everything as expected there for both players, actually.
Okay, so let's see here as taking a look at things. I liked the forge in the middle first. I don't have enough confidence in where I place my buildings to leave gaps on the other side, so I'm just like, nope, stick it up against the wall. It'll be fine. We'll see if he decides to full wall this or not. Certainly has room to just drop down the Cybernetics core right there and leave one little gap in between these 2 structures. All right, he did decide to pylon block over at the third, though. It's going to delay this next phase, and he gateway blocks, too. So JYP wanting to ensure that this hatchery is not going to drop down for a very long time.
All right, yeah, JYP just blocking like crazy. Monster is going to have to chew down for quite a while. That gateway that's starting to warp in, JYP will obviously just cancel it if it gets you know, low enough to that point where he thinks he's going to lose all the minerals. But back at home, he is adding on 2 more gas, or 2 first initial gas, I suppose, at his main. Doesn't really reveal a whole lot in the way of tech. We'll see. There we go, Cybernetics core coming down. Actually a little bit late, but that's because he did let the gateway finish. No, he didn't. Back over at Monster's third,
Okay, so let's see here now as no super quick 3rd and 4th gas like we saw out of some of the MVP players before. Looks like JYP is going to put those up at a little bit more normal time. Of course, he has delayed on +1 weapons, so he's accumulating that gas for some sort of ulterior motive later on, and gas coming down at just the normal time.
Okay, with 3 and 4 coming now, he has obviously lots of options to be able to work with. Stalker coming up now, game being chrono boosted out, Warp Gate tech being researched as well. Really not a whole lot going on. It looks like some Zerglings were chasing a probe. Still not that exciting. They even gave up. So even the probe is like, all right, guys, you're just making it easy on me. Come on, let's have some chasing going on. But Monster does have an Overlord above JYP's base that he could send in at any time whenever he thinks that Cybernetics core is finished, and some additional tech might be dropped. He could just fly over the main. There's nothing preventing him from doing that. There we see a Stargate. So we are finally going to see some air units. The Overlord has started moving from Monster, so we'll see if he's going to get all the way across that main base to see the Stargate warping in.
He should be able to. This is an interesting path for for him as well, because most Overlords will just run right through the middle, but of course Protoss players are getting a little bit sneakier about where they place things, so like the positioning of this Overlord, and he will be able to get over there before this actually does pop up.
He's so sneaky. He's just like, oh, I'm just an Overlord, ignore me. I'm just, you know, in vision of all your miners. They should be able to see me, but he is possibly at a bad enough angle where he's not going to, he's actually not going to get over there unless he changes direction. If that Stalker comes over to start shooting at him, that would actually be good for him. Oh, he sees the pylon. That's potential to get over there. I was going to say, if a Stalker comes over, starts shooting at him and drives him away, it could lead him toward that Stargate, but look at that Monster not going to see the Stargate there out of JYP.
And he doesn't see any sort of tech. Oh, he will catch the robotics facility, and that's actually really good for JYP because he wants him to see something like that. All right, well, that Stargate now starting to produce Phoenixes. There's one out on the map, a second coming here pretty soon. The Phoenix has actually run by this Overlord, so now Monster knows.
Yep, and he threw up 2 Spore Crawlers immediately when that Phoenix presented itself to the Overlord there. And with the robotics facility coming up, we'll see what JYP wants to do to follow this up. Will he go for that Bay? Usually when you see air units from Protoss, it kind of forces the Zerg player to get into those range attack units. Hydralisk Den being dropped right now. Robotics Bay from JYP, so we are seeing the normal sort of dominoes that we see from a Protoss player taking to the skies in PvZ.
Yep. You put up a Hydraliston, I put up a Robotics Bay, and we'll see what happens from there on out. Sport Crawler actually cleverly placed in between the bases. I like that because a lot of Protoss players will try and duck through with air units through the middle of the map. Looks like they will be able to snag a couple of Overlord kills. No, I'm surprised he actually didn't stay and try and finish that. He could have gotten it, I think, before the Phoenix went down, but he wants to make sure that he keeps all of those alive and just keeps the pressure on.
Monster is making tons of drones right now, probably just to, I mean, obviously make his economy stronger, but to replace any drones that he thinks will be lost to these harassing Phoenixes in the time that it takes for these Hydralisks to come up. He's blocking the third base of JYP pretty efficiently, takes out that probe, so even just killing a probe there is a nice delay because he's going to have to send another one over there and it takes time, and JYP is going to be a little bit cautious about dropping one there now that his first probe has been taken out. It looks like he will finally get over there and put that Nexus down.
Okay, the forces obviously aren't looking that large at the moment as he has been investing in most aspects of his infrastructure with that third base, with multiple gateways, with the robotics facility producing Immortals, with +1 armor. So everything's hitting on all cylinders for JYP, but the same can be said for Monster. He really hasn't taken that much harassment or damage, and now he's got Hydralisks added in. He's moving up to an infestation pit. He'll be able to drop down Hive momentarily, and he'll be able to progress through his tech chain very quickly.
Yeah, these Phoenixes from JYP haven't been very effective at all. No real damage done, like you said, but now that the Hydralisks have left home, there's a chance for them to get some real damage done. Of course, you do have those Spore Crawlers there to be able to defend. A couple of Hydras have been left at home, and obviously you've got those Queens available, those mobile turrets to help ward away Phoenixes, but it looks like JYP actually going to get caught out a little bit with a couple of Zealots. At least he got to see the size of the army there from Monster, and JYP knows that he has to get over there and deal with this with this much investment into Phoenixes. It could be difficult. Lings, I mean, picking them up is one thing, but you're going to run out of energy very quickly for very little return. Picking up the Hydralisks would be pretty nice if he can power them down, but we do see a Twilight Council coming up from JYP, perhaps to try and do some kind of tech switch here.
Okay, well, Colossus is on the way here. A second one, actually, with range popping up momentarily. With that Twilight Council, he will at the very least be able to move into those upgrades in addition to what you were talking about before. Loses 2 Phoenixes over the top for the gain of just 1 Hydralisk, I think it was. Or maybe not even that. It may have actually just dropped down altogether.
Okay, Colossus already out for JYP. A second one's going to join him in just a moment somewhere. Phoenix is trying to power down this Overseer. Doesn't look like they're going to get the option. Only 1 Phoenix left there for JYP. I don't see any marauding around Monster's base anymore. Looks like Monster's pretty much ended that threat completely with quite a lot of good anti-air.
You know, I don't know if JYP is going for this necessarily. Okay, well, we'll actually talk about this after the attack here. A very nice job of funneling a lot of Zerglings through the choke point. With the 2 Colossi that are there, they should be able to rack up a lot of kills. And indeed, JYP is going to push this force back. But 36 more Lings and an additional 7 Corruptors are on the way, along with the Greater Spire. Now, he was sacrificing some Phoenixes to actually duck in there and pick off the Overseer. And I didn't know if he was trying to convince his opponent. Maybe he had DTs or cloak units running through, something that he needed needed a purpose for getting rid of that detection, but it doesn't look like Monster's going to bite if that was the case. Again, I don't know if that was intended or if that was just kind of a side effect in a weird spot for JYP to continue kind of slamming his head against a brick wall and flying over Hydralisks, but I don't know.
I don't know either. I mean, the fleet beacon's coming up now, so maybe that's what he was aiming at, getting rid of some detection along the way. With the fleet beacon coming, mothership cloaking everything obviously is going to be a huge part of JYP's strategy, but with the Greater Spire completing here soon for Monster and lots more Hydralisks still in production, Broodlord and Hydra. Actually, Broodlord Hydra is kind of weird. Where are the, I think we need some infestors, but that is quite a lot of speedlings that Monster has to be able to wrap around all these sentries and colossi as well.
There are 6 infestors out along with 2 more on the way, so I mean, for ultra late game army, maybe a little bit short, but he's getting pretty close. I mean, that's a pretty good number of infestors. Monster going to swing through with these Zerglings, but there's already a well-protected photon cannon, should buy enough time for units to start warping in. Yeah, Monster not going to be able to get anything done there.
Man, I remember not too long ago there was nothing there. Now it's like this huge fortress, but the 4th base is going to get actually canceled. All these links did sneak by. Nice tactic there from Monster. Unfortunately for him, JYP is a little bit more prepared than, say, Vampire or Finale in the first game against Stefano. So Monster will have to retreat with those lings. We got Phoenixes rolling around again, still actually looking for those Overseers, it seems, as the mothership is in production finally for JYP.
Yep, and they pick up the Corruptors as well, so he knows that pretty high tech and a lot of air units are on the field. First few, let's see here, 6 Broodlords are up, 2 more are morphing in, a 5th base is coming up for Monster, and though there has been a little bit of trading back and forth, this has still had a pretty passive feel to it so far. We've been just kind of moving along the tech chains and just waiting to see what both guys produce. Not a lot of splash damage against air. I mean, there's no Archons quite yet on the map, and that's going to make the mothership a little bit weaker without being able to splash damage down those Broodlords. And there we see a Templar Archives is now on the way.
Okay, with the Templar Archive, that's going to give JYP some more options. Obviously, the Archon Vortex combo can be very, very powerful if he catches enough Broodlords. We've got Neural Parasite coming for Monster, though. So again, Vortex can be a very powerful combo against Archons, but we'll see, as things kind of pan out here. Monster going for another Spire just to get multiple upgrades rolling at once. He's already got quite a lot of Broodlords standing. Also, it does protect that tech just in case the Greater Spire does get taken out somewhere else. More Overseers being produced, more Corruptors being produced, lots of air weapons being invested, and all these Infestors from Monster are going to be the superstars, I'm imagining, once these armies clash.
And there's a mothership. So we have quite stout army now up for JYP with the additional supply cap that he has. You could actually warp in a bunch of Archons and hopefully support that mothership as he moves along. Looks like players are gearing up for potentially a big fight as all the Broodlords and Infestors are in position. A few Zealots being torched off to the side, and hopefully we'll have a few more units here in just a second.
Yep, we'll see 6 more Stalkers coming in now for JYP. Blink is going to be a huge factor for him to be able to try and thin out the Broodlords as they kind of do this tug-of-war fighting. Zealots taking out a base down in the bottom right, but we have a big encounter. You can see the Colossi going crazy there. They are fungled in place. Corruptors trying to do their damage. There's just not a lot of Corruptors to be able to finish off the Colossi. Broodlords obviously just want to stay back and do as much damage as they can while uninterrupted. 44 more Lings in production for Monster. 6 High Templar coming in for JYP. They don't have Storm, so he's just going to make them into Archons immediately. Look at this huge Zerg force overrunning this 4th base of JYP.
A 5th base for a 4th base favors Monster a little bit, especially with the continued army that he has, as JYP's production is going to be a bit limited, especially without the gas income, and he actually loses his supply cap. This hidden base, well, attempt at a hidden base was started here on the top left for JYP, but of course it gets picked up on very quickly.
Yep, I wonder if Corruptors could just like crash themselves into it and then somehow start flying again. Like, I don't know how a Corruptor takeoff looks. I mean, are they born in midair, or either way? Like,
yeah,
if they just fling themselves down at it, can they get back up? I don't know.
Yeah, they have to come from larvae somehow.
Yeah,
I mean,
they don't. Maybe they're filled with helium, so they just quickly, like, they can't ever.
Oh no!
Oh, that mothership is caught way out of position. There is enough energy for a Vortex, but where is it? He had it queued up and didn't even get it landed. The Corruptors took it out too fast, and they're going to take out those Colossi, so the Archon Toilet, not going to happen this time. The Broodlords are getting thinned out very quickly, though. Not many left at all. Still a lot of Stalkers standing, and JYP actually taking this engagement. Nothing but Corruptors and Infestors standing for Monster.
Those Stalkers were just not dealt with at all, and look how many are still remaining. I mean, a few of those were warped in during the fight, of course, but not that many. JYP sitting on a pretty good bank of resources. Monsters is a lot better, and he is going to run through it now as he's making 8 Broodlords and still adding on Hydralisks. He likes their DPS more than the bit more hardiness of the Roaches.
JYP's going to actually continue rolling here. I mean, he could try and figure out a way, with some additional resources there. He's got a Warp Prism taking care of business in the main, taking out that spawning pool, cutting off any Zergling production is going to be nice. He's going to be trying to take out as much tech as he can while his main force sneaks around that entire Spine Crawler forest and tries to get their damage done by blinking down into that base there. There's a lot of Spine Crawlers standing, which can be quite annoying for a Protoss player to attack into. Look at that Archon just trying to take out an Extractor. Not even going to be successful there, but all these Broodlords have finished. They're kind of floating kind of perilously close to JYP's army, but look at Monster actually taking this base over way up in the top middle of the map. One Stalker already shooting away at it.
Okay, so the 4th base is refinished again for JYP. He has killed the spawning pool of his opponent, and no spawning pool has been produced, which is a little bit unfortunate, especially because the tech would be reset if the Hive would get killed for some reason. And hopefully he'll produce another one here in just a bit.
Yep, if that happens, he'll be reset quite a long way, but we've got 6 Hydralisks coming up for Monster. It just seemed like he stabilized really, really quickly. Obviously had some bank to work through, but JYP won that first engagement pretty staggeringly with the amount of stuff that Monster had there and taking out the mothership as quickly as he did. The Stalkers just proved to be super duper effective there. Psystorm is being researched now as Monster has effectively switched away from all of those ground forces. He still has a lot of Lings, and these Infested Terrans would go down to Storm pretty quickly, so we'll see if that's going to work out for him. Another Warp Prism in production, too.
It's hard for JYP to lose this base again, because if you look at it, he's getting very low on his 3rd. His natural's basically mined out. His main is mined out. And this is basically all of his available resources. Monster trying to take another base down to the bottom right-hand corner and taking the one very close to JYP as well. And he still has this full base right sitting in the middle. So, I mean, Monster has a great continued ability to reproduce his forces in the event of another big engagement. JYP, even if he solidly wins the next engagement, then has to do economic damage just to make up for the fact that he's so far behind on bases and economy.
JYP also needs to just toss up some pylons somewhere, because every time this base gets taken out, he gets supply blocked again, and that's just stalling him out further. He should just drop a couple more in his main and be done with that. But either way, we have that Warp Prism flying around somewhere now for JYP. He might be able to get some harassment done with it eventually, but I'm not sure where it's at the moment. I think it did get done. Maybe it got taken out right there. It is. Spore Crawlers actually might even be able to take care of it before it becomes an issue. If he flips over right now, he's got some room to get some units warped in. We can see some Zealots very quickly being warped in. Monster not actually, well, he is actually going to respond with his whole army, but he's not in a position to do it very quickly.
All right, so Queen gets taken out. A few Lings are going to go down as well, and the Warp Prism scoots out of there. No, I think it maybe flew back, over the Spore Crawler, which does have a kill. So Warp Prism didn't get too much done, but it does pull the units back for Monster and allows this 4th base to go up yet again. But JYP, I think, needs to hold it this time. If he gives it up as easily as he did the last couple of go-rounds, I think that's going to be a bad spot for him.
There are 2 Changelings in the army of JYP as well that he never noticed. So he knows exactly what his opponent has and where. Storm's dropping all over the Infested Terrans, and the Hydralisks will do some damage there, but kind of miss the bulk of the forces. All these Broodlords and Hydras underfoot, all these Infestors still with plenty of health and quite a lot of energy, and Neural Parasite available. There is enough energy on the mothership to drop a Vortex, so we'll see who's going to be able to use it first.
Okay, well, he's trying to swing it around with the mothership from the side here, so we can hopefully catch those Broodlords. Neural Parasite has not hit yet, and he does land a Vortex, but it's more positional as it doesn't hit a ton of units, and the Broodlords, the vast majority of them, are still off to the side. A lot of Infested Terrans are getting dropped down, so it buys time and doesn't allow any Archons to actually make their way in. And here we go, actually from around the side, Templar are going to be dropped in. What a crazy play from JYP. That was so good, but unfortunately there's just not enough damage left in his army to get it done. That was such a creative idea, but he didn't have the damage in his army to back it up.
Yeah, the big blink forward actually ended up kind of costing him as there are a lot of Hydralisks in that mixture still, and they did a ton of damage to those Stalkers. Stalkers were trying to focus down the Broodlords as they are the more imminent threat, but that DPS from Hydralisks unchecked can be really, really devastating. JYP trying to reinforce as quick as he can, but you can see quite a lot of Infestors. We've got a ton of Broodlords still in the air, and actually Zerglings coming to reinforce as soon as he gets Larva available. So he is actually finally going to break down that third base fortress wall there with all the gateways and the cannons. He's just going to continue chasing those Zealots. That is not a good place to warp in because there's no reason to. So he's going to have to get that Warp Prism doing something effective here soon. I don't think he's going to be able to slow down that third base. Really losing that third base is going to be the huge issue here.
And he manages to pick off a couple of Infestors there, but yeah, like you said, he's lost 2 bases now. I mean, he essentially has to kill his opponent with what he has on the field. And while these Warpins, these little drops, have been pretty effective, there's still Spine Crawlers defending this base. This is the critical one. And he's being chased down in the middle of the map.
How many workers actually are left for both players? Let's take a look. 20 probes against 45 drones. Monster mining safely away at that little elbow base, that third remaining, or I guess fourth remaining base. The Changelings taking care of business there. That was quite a large force of Changeling Zealots. Of course, they don't have attacks, but either way, it looks kind of menacing.
Did you see what he did with the Changelings, though? He actually dropped them down. Yeah, and surrounded the Spine Crawler. It's so cool.
Yep, they saved the day for that Spine Crawler. All these Stalkers still alive, just blinking away from all the Infestors and Zerglings constantly. They actually made their way from the left side of the map all the way over to the right side. There is enough time actually for a Colossus to come out and try and help things out. But look how low everyone is. Oh, Neural Parasite on the Colossus. That's a great move to steal that Colossus. Oh, but then it got out of it and toasted 2 of the Infestors right underneath it. That was pretty rough. I think this is all JYP has left to work on, though. He has 23 gas and no way to get more. There's the GG from JYP, and Monster takes a 30-minute crazy